Anybody know a good cleaning lady at all?
What's that?
Cleaning lady, the girl I've had for 100 years. She's going to paint it.
Tell you what, they're hard to find and keep.
Well, she's been there a long time. I don't have any problems with her leaving because she's got kids and they're growing up and they're doing more and more stuff. She's hard to replace because she's been there so long.
Yeah.
She would dog sit and cat sit and do all odds and ends.
She knows where all the dirt is.
Was I have a really good cleaning company.
I can give you a referral.
But I don't think
It's
they're
a
not
question.
cheap.
Well, my girl wasn't cheap either, but she did good.
This girl.
Why don't you, next week Monday, just bring the stuff, give them a call. No, our girl
I can
wasn't cheap.
text you the number. And
Oh, text me, sure, I got to turn my neck. No, texting's fine.
No. I'll just.
Texting's fine.
Is it okay?
Let's just say she,
On your phone.
they were a little
Yeah.
short.
That might be easier.
I don't tell you people as much as I really know, but I try to play
That's
down.
great, the email, no, not super.
Changed the budget to do that.
Like it did like the old, like
I just said
old
that.
inbox or a temporary, I'm like,
No, I think
Well,
that's,
see, I get, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, I have one too. I have her name right here.
yeah, coffee or so,
yeah,
something. Karen, is it,
Karen?
but you can even switch
but
between.
it's always here, like,
that's what I'm
not
saying.
like,
Can she just do that without having to consult counsel?
Morning, K-O-N-I transfer.
As capital, it gets a little touchy because our budget is
yeah, every single time, and I always
split
use,
out
I
capital,
always do
basically
use old
its
data,
own
is what I always put.
departments into its own
I always
section.
do use old data,
And my recommendation
I don't know why I did that one,
Probably
but I
outrun
did.
that through council.
Oh, then try to.
Come out of Rogers. Well, I was gonna ask, do you guys know?
Yeah.
You said,
Total surface, right.
Serious?
But I think the problem was they.
They set it up for me, and I just don't know what it like. Yeah.
That was a different category of expenditure.
I don't.
I don't know.
I don't even know if she, that's fine. I just,
There's cherry.
I haven't talked to her, I haven't even mentioned that topic.
Okay. And I wonder if like Sydney can help me like get it figured out.
that's, you're over here, but it says, it's.
He's amazing.
But that's what I don't understand.
The mailboxes. Whenever they did the integration thing, like it screwed it up for me, and like months ago.
Well, and that's anyway.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. This is a work session of City Council, December 11, 2023. First item is review of the minutes from the November 2023 meeting. And there's a copy of the minutes in there. If anybody has any thoughts about corrections, you can mention them or bring them up before next week. Okay, next item under new business is a resolution adopting a city budget for the city of Bella Vista for the calendar year 2024, appropriating money for each item of expenditure and for other purposes. And we have a copy of the budget that, of course, we went over it at the work session the other week. And Kim made the changes that, there were some changes to the footnotes, and we changed the amount on the capital expenditure for the chairs in the other room. So, anybody have any other thoughts on things in the budget?
hasn't changed since we discussed it last time, has it?
No, just the amount for the chairs in the courtroom was lower. They kept the amount in for the benches. Some of the footnotes she changed. She had some footnotes referring to employees that weren't accurate. And she changed those, so.
By the way, just one thing, we had a conversation about how many cars in the city, and Kim just came in and said we have 170, give or take one, right? Just in case anybody was wondering, since we had the meeting last Monday.
Yeah,
But nobody's up
I don't know.
well, before they quoted 135, but that wasn't counting, that was for the wash bay, and that wasn't counting the fire department.
there. So this counts the fire department.
That is vehicles driven. It's all vehicles driven by the city.
That includes all departments.
Yes, all departments, including fire trucks, everything.
So for instance, I don't think it counts the zipper, does it?
It does not count as zipper.
It's
That's
an
not-
example
that's
of
not-
a vehicle that's.
Or the motor grader. Or the loader. There's
So. I'm trying to recall, I don't recall any other big questions that Kim hadn't responded to, so.
You still paying about $100 a car for insurance through the state? You still paying about that?
I don't know, Kim.
It varies based on the year, but a new car, the new cars in this year were $309,
Okay, so it's.
$310. It's a good deal. Wish that I could get that deal, right?
What's our deductible?
No, that's the premium.
No, I said, what's our deductible? I can't
Oh,
remember.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It is, I believe it's $1,000. Yeah, I believe it's $1,000. Excuse me, $1,000.
Which doesn't take much anymore.
Yeah.
Every time.
So, should we move on to the next item?
Yep. How about the capital expenses?
Oh, right, the capital expenditures.
What about the capital?
I guess my concern is that we will have effectively spent all of our cash. And I don't know, I gotta find where the capital stuff is. We'll figure it out.
I think she's showing current capital request of 11 million.
223, 199.
I'm sorry, Larry, I didn't hear what you said. I apologize.
Where's the capital in here? Just the capital?
It's in the packet.
It's right after that.
Excuse me.
Larry, I think it's following that packet in the online, in the supporting docs. I think that's what you're looking for.
I saw it in the packet that we got sent out.
I think it's page 31.
There we are. So after this year, we will have $1,059,000 remaining in our unassigned funds. And so are we going to gain $6 million for next year?
We have talked about the possibility, excuse me, that we were going to go in January and start looking at ways to finance the fire station number 1, and that we're going to look at an amendment 78 loan, which is it 78 or
Yes,
78? And investigate some other options. It might even be possible, depending on what we do, to look at other ways to finance it. But right now, that's the expectation, is it'll be Amendment 78.
So even though this is the proposed plan, we're seriously thinking about doing some
Yes, sir. For
outgoing
the very reason
financing.
you state, because next year we have
Well, we've got $20 million that's sitting out there in the next 4 years,
right.
which is, I think, way beyond our capability with our current revenue growth that we have, way beyond our reach. And so I think we should seriously look at big projects to finance, and maybe we can package some up for like next year and the year after next year. Or this year, and next year meaning 24, but then look at big projects in 25 and see if they're amenable to bonding or financing.
Exactly. And the mayor and I have a meeting with our bond. Yeah, I told you guys that I would come back with you with an updated bond analysis, and we have that meeting Wednesday morning. So yes, we will, and at that time we'll talk about, what the strategy is, and what, if indeed we pay off in 26, if it does look like that's possible, or 28, is it possible to finance some of the bigger projects?
One of my concerns is that when I look at the project for next year, the fire department capital, we're looking at doing a major expansion on that site for the remainder that has not been approved yet. So what we've approved is really the remodeling of the existing police department into a firehouse, if you will. Not a fire station, but a firehouse. And so what we're looking at beyond that, in fact, this is the 5.7 million that will do the rest of the project, is that right? The 5.7 here. My thinking is that if we're going to look at long-term keeping of that site, we should plan to be able to put a second story on the area where CDS is to house additional staff. Whether that would require the whole area or only a part of it, for additional staffing. I think we're shooting ourselves a little bit short in terms of the growth of the city for our administrative needs to manage it without having outliers, trailers out in the parking lot for offices. So I think we should design that westerly area where CBS is to allow for a second story there, which means the design of the first phase needs to include that provision. You don't come in and just put a second story up without planning for it in the foundation. Footings and columns and all the rest of it that go up there. So that's my 2 cents. What you do with that, you're the management and you're the administration. We'll leave it up to you, but I think you're short-sighted. I think that the analysis says that we have space for 22 employees in the area where Maryland is now sitting, which in the second story will be the fire department administration, which is a misnomer because there's not 22 spaces in that area. There's really only 11 when you talk about meeting rooms, you talk about bathrooms, you talk about support areas like copy rooms and storage and mail rooms and all sorts of things like that take up space. So the 22 is a raw number, but you have to back that up for other essential facilities. And the same is true when you look at the west end and when you look at the fire headquarters. They say the headquarters has a capability of 22 staff there, and there's 11 positions, 11 offices along with support areas, a conference room, etc. So it's kind of a misrepresentation of the real capacity we're building, and I think we need to look at additional staffing space if we're going to dedicate that as our city hall area. Otherwise, we're going to be shooting ourselves in the feet.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts. There's a lot of different ins and outs to this, which I haven't gone into all of them. In that analysis, we used the Arkansas State standard, which is 150 square feet per employee. But there's a lot, society has changed quite a bit, and there's a lot of things happening that doesn't always occur to people. One thing is that everybody doesn't always work in an office all the time. We already have some employees that are working from home some of the time. And take a simple example on the CDS side, where planners are. You could easily have 2 planners in an office and have one in one day, and one in half the time, and the other in half the time. And you know, so the capacity of these buildings actually is quite high. And there's been a change in all of our society, really. In fact, the whole office space field, supply and demand has changed, because even though COVID's over, a lot of people are still working from home. And you know, all this stuff you heard about on the news about, oh, everybody has to go back to work. Particularly, there's a lot of news about the West Coast and the computer companies and how they're making them go back to work. Well, then when you read the fine print, oh, this is a big radical change. Google and X and all these people are making people come back to the office. They're literally talking about them coming back to the office 2 to 3 days a week. And the employees are protesting about having to come to the office 2 days a week. That's how much our society has changed. And we have a lot of our jobs in the office side of things in particular, that people don't necessarily have to be in the office all the time. 2 or 3 years ago, Walmart told their entire IT department, which is a lot of people, that they're working from home forever. They told them that 2 or 3 years ago. You get used to it. You're always working from home. So when you look at the office and say, oh, this isn't big enough, you're thinking of the old days when everybody actually came to the office. And it's getting to be more and more people, people don't, why spend a lot of money on an office if you can have people work, not always be there. So that's the kind of thing we're kind of looking at doing, combining the two.
And I guess my response to that is that we're in the public service business of serving our residents. And so if you have someone at home, they're not able to do, they can certainly talk on the telephone, they can communicate electronically, but they are not able to meet. And a lot of people walk up to City Hall, they walk into your office or walk into, and they want to talk to the clerk, they want to talk to the mayor, they want to talk to someone particularly. And so if they're dealing with a person and that person is home most of the time or half the time, then when do they come in to meet with them?
Yeah, well, there's some jobs that are more forward-facing than others.
And I
we need to have those
guess I
people there.
recognize that the working from home thing is one of those options, but is it viable and is it realistic for municipalities to do that because of the customer service area that we are really in with the people?
Yeah, I understand. Well, some people are in that.
And Walmart
Some are-
called all the people back, go down and drive by their main office. The office parking lot area is filled.
Yeah,
So they called them all back. Whether some of them work at home some days of the week, I don't know. And I haven't investigated, but they did call everybody back. So, yeah,
One of the reasons people were protesting about coming back to work was because after they were told they could work from home, a lot of them moved to Florida, they moved, all over the country, they were all over the country. Now they say you gotta come back to the office 3 days a week, and they're in Florida now, so.
well, a lot of them moved to Bella Vista.
Yeah. I don't tell me how many we got here, really.
So
They didn't have money to come here. We paid them, Arkansas paid them money to come work remotely here.
So I just wanted to, or Cassie can talk to this maybe, but I do know that Chief Sims had someone come and look at the west end, and they said they cannot build a second story over there, and I don't know if it has to do with the footings or whatever, but there's some reason they can't add a second story to the west end of the building. Just wanted to throw that out there.
good to know, put it in the record.
Yeah.
So,
It should go in the minutes.
There aren't any
Something that
minutes
should
of
be
a work
public
session.
knowledge.
None of this, there's no minutes of any of this.
I know that.
It's just a recording.
so. Okay, was there any more comments on the CapEx portion?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to say, I don't want, so we had an extensive work session last Monday, right? It was over 2 hours plus, I think. I just don't want anybody in the community that might be watching the work session tonight to think that due diligence hasn't been done on the budget. It has been.
It has.
You know, we discussed it at length last Monday. And personally, for me, and I don't really take any issue with the budget. I think it's well done. I think it's responsible for the revenue the city will generate in terms of however that comes in, or different aspects, versus the operating budget for next year. And I expressed some concern, about capital expenditures next year and then into the future for the next 4 years, but I thought I'd hold those comments until next week. And they're not derogatory in any manner, but I just didn't want anybody to think that we're just kind of like looking at a budget and we haven't talked about it or discussed it. And I'm sure there are other people on the council like myself. I actually came in and talked to Kim today, and I had some conversations with a couple of other department heads as well, just to clarify a couple things. So we have had an extensive in-depth conversation and an opportunity to review the budget. That's what we're going to be voting on next week.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just to clarify what the financial situation is, if we spent all and I agree with everything you've said and everything Larry said, that we have to watch it. If we spent all the money and didn't borrow any this next year on CapEx, it shows we'd have $6 million. That's what our CapEx budget. He said $1 million, but that's not counting the 5.4 or whatever. That's our 20. That's our.
it's a 25%
reserve. Yeah.
reserve of revenue.
Yeah. So I just wanted the people to know we'd still have $6 million. We're not going to do that anyway. We're going to borrow some of it to keep our cash, but. So, but yeah, it's definitely something we have to keep an eye on going forward. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. Okay, on item B is authorizing budgetary funding transfers between departments in the 2023 annual city budget. This refers to the year end, as most of you know, and that, one department might be a little over budget, one's a little under, but the legal requirement is that the city as a whole be under. And I don't know if anybody's gonna need to do this or not. We just do this automatically every time. Do you know, Kim, or is it?
I asked directors to look at this so that we could have some ideas, but I haven't gotten any response back, so I'm assuming that everybody is thinking they're going to be within their budget. But I'll send out another notice, today or
Yeah.
tomorrow, and to make sure that they have looked closely. One of the things is that December is one of the big payroll months. So that's because we have 3 payrolls, plus we have the special payroll for police and fire in December as well. So it is, that's probably, and I got the special payroll today. And so, as soon as I get that in, then I'm going to send out an email again to them saying, you should have some information now to determine where you're going to be for the end of the year.
Okay. But anyway, we always pass this resolution just to make sure we're ready and prepared for it. The next one, item C, is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract with Action Enterprises through a NASPO co-op purchasing agreement in the total amount of $784,747.81 for the purchase of body cameras and associated equipment and services for the police department. And I think this actually also covers some cameras in the police cars, because we don't have them in absolutely every police car right now. So, and it says $784,000, but I believe it was like $157,000 a year for 5 years, something like that. This number might not look familiar to people. Yeah. So the police chief's here if anyone wants to talk about that or has more questions about it or whatnot.
I just have a question on the body cameras. With the body cameras, how are they activated? Is it like, how do they turn on? Like, does the officer turn them on when they exit the vehicle, or what's the?
They don't usually have to manually turn them on. There's usually methods where they turn on when they exit the vehicle and such.
Okay.
So if the officer's in a situation where they can't turn it on,
Yeah.
it's usually able to turn itself on. But I'm not totally familiar with this specific camera, but they all have a method to turn themselves on.
Perfect.
And even when, if they're not turned on, they are always recording, but it's a loop, so if they're not turned on, that loop records over. So, you know what I mean? So, but if something critical happens and the camera wasn't manually turned on or wasn't turned on somehow, we can still capture that data because it's always recording.
Perfect.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
Kind of like your phone's always listening to you, you just don't know it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
One thing I want to mention is that we will need to look at the police department policies regarding body worn cameras, and you all approve those policies, so there will be an official policy on how these very things occur when they're turned, all that stuff, and so you all will see that before they go into effect.
Thank you.
yeah, we're already looking at that. We're already drafting a policy. Just like I mentioned last week, we want to get the contract signed this year. That'll save $120,000 from the bump up price in 2024. But the contract won't be implemented until the first of the year, and cameras won't actually be online probably for the first 2 or 3 months, and so you'll have plenty of time to get that policy and review it. So.
No, some officers have cameras now.
So yeah, we have WatchGuard right now, which is our car cameras. We've never had body cameras, but we do have a car camera system. But like I mentioned, that camera system defunct, and so we don't have all of our cars aren't currently deploying with cameras, and so that's what brought this process into the mix a couple of years back. We started looking at this because we knew we were going to have to go there. And I thought if we're replacing car cameras, let's just do body cameras because that's best practice. We needed to go there anyways. I wanted to get this building done before I tackled that. So here we are.
So this contract will be new car cameras plus body
Yes,
cameras?
so this contract will get us 40 new in-car cameras, 40 body cameras. They'll come in, they'll outfit our 3 interview rooms, so when we bring folks in to interview them with cameras and with audio. It gives us unlimited cloud-based storage, which is pretty unheard of, unlimited, that's a lot. And then it gives us redaction software, because we have to redact this stuff. All this stuff is FOIAble, and so it's a whole new process. I'll have an officer specifically, that's sort of going to be their job, is reviewing and redacting this sort of stuff, so we can get it out to whoever FOIAs it and where it needs to go. It also has some transcription software in it, and plus the whole package includes all the installation, the tear out of our old systems and existing cars, and the install of the new system on site here. The other 2 contracts we looked at, we had to take the cars somewhere else, and that was going to cost an additional $70,000 or $80,000. It wasn't built into the existing contract. So this contract has everything we need. It's turnkey from the beginning. Plus, it allows us to add additional software packages along the way if we decided we needed something else they offer.
Jason?
Yes, sir.
Does, when someone's being interviewed, do they have to be made aware that they are being recorded?
You know, in a contact with a police officer, no. So the answer is no.
I mean, in the interview, like in the interview room?
Not necessarily. Of course, this is well, it does include interview rooms, so yes. The police use, now, it's a different set of rules when we're talking about private individuals, and say, I'm having a conversation with someone on the phone, and whether or not they can be recorded without notifying the other person. In Arkansas, you don't, as long as one person knows about a recording, that's okay. Some states require notification for anyone who doesn't know they're being recorded, but that's a whole different, people may be thinking about that, that's a whole different thing when we're talking about law enforcement use, and you know, there's no expectation of privacy on the side of the road in a public street, so no, to answer your question, simply no, for law enforcement purposes.
Anything else?
I think that's good, thank you so much. The next one is a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a 10th amended animal services contract for animal sheltering with the Bella Vista Animal Shelter. And the change to this one, we were paying them $5,000 a month, and now we'll be paying them $5,250 a month. And we also pay for dogs and cats. We pay $110 per dog and $60 per cat. So, you know, $5,000 a month is $60,000 a year. And I think our total is around 105,000 or so maybe this year. It's a little over that.
Contract, we pay right now $5,000 a month. That's just to have service with them, and then we pay per dog and cat. And usually, the bill is actually usually about $8,500 a month, and so a good, you know, almost as much as, we pay almost as much as for each dog and cat. You would be surprised how many dogs and cats going up there. And yeah, I think next year we have, I think, 110,000, I think, in the budget to cover this.
So the $250 is about a $3,000 a year increase.
So there's no increase in the per dog or
No,
per
not
dog or
in
cat?
not in the cost per dog or cat.
Yeah, they kept it the same. So,
And I think it's actually 110 per dog, and I think it's 60 per cat.
yeah.
60 per cat, so.
Do we have an ordinance against dropping off animals?
Yes, sir. Called abandonment.
Yeah, the shelter has told me that they don't take drop-offs.
What I meant was, if an officer catches someone, you know, dropping off, kicking the dog, or whatever out, is there
Oh, yeah.
It violates ordinance and state
Yeah.
law. We have, one of the circumstances that I've I've had to prosecute are people that will unfortunately lie to the shelter and say that they found an animal in Bella Vista when they didn't. And that's, you know, they would take it if it was from a Bella Vista resident, but they wouldn't if it's not. And so we get theft of services prosecutions related to that. or cruelty because it's technically abandonment, but that's difficult because they are leaving it to someone who intends to care for it, so. A little more background on what goes on with that.
So you have some cases like that.
Absolutely, all the time.
Okay, so that's what's happening with the animal shelter. Next one is E, resolution establishing residential and commercial rates for solid waste collection in the city. And I believe you have an attachment that tells the amount on this. This has gone up, and it's going up about, I calculated it to be 4.01%. It was $15.96, this is for consumers, $15.96, and it's going up to $16.60. So, our contract with them, just so you know, it was a 10-year contract that ran through the end of 2022. And it had 2 5-year options to renew. So we made the first option. So right now we're on a contract that goes through the end of 2027. At that point, we can stick with them, go with someone else, but whatever we thought was prudent. But that's what the contract is. And it says that it's kind of odd the way it's worded. It says the contract will go up according to the CPI for waste, trash, and such. There's all kinds of categories of CPI. And so they asked for 5.39%, and I got them to come down a little bit from that.
So is the yard waste cost going up too?
They said that everything was going up.
Is that in this contract?
But the yard waste was $120 for the 8 months.
It's never been a part of the rate that you all
Yeah.
approved. The
Okay.
dumpster fee, you got the commercial, the residential, and those extras are not a rate that you set. Those are, because they're not mandatory.
So, the whole waste hauling business has been, if you think about what happened the last few years, I mean, their main things are fuel and labor, and both those were hit really hard by inflation. And in conversations with them, didn't have to do with rates. They had, how people had trouble getting cars and getting different vehicles. They had a tremendous problem getting garbage trucks. They couldn't get any, to be exact, for several years. You just have to keep fixing the ones you have, whether that's the smartest thing to do or not. But, so they had all kinds of problems with COVID and whatnot, and then the inflation afterwards kind of hit them hard. I'm kind of surprised our rates have stayed as low as they have, given all that. Now, the fuel's gotten a little more reasonable recently, but it was kind of tough for a while. So anyway, that's what's happening in that industry.
You said it's a 4.1%?
It's 4.01. Went from 1596 to 1660. And there's an attachment that is a breakdown for all the commercial, but across the board, they use the same percentage. So,
I think it's really reasonable. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm glad when that truck shows up every Monday. I don't know what everybody else's day is, but
Tuesday.
pretty simple process. I'm glad we went to the trash bins too. And that was, we used to set it, on the curb, remember? Like when I first moved here.
yeah, and
Animals would get the
and
bags.
animals would have a field day.
Garbage bags or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It was not pretty.
yeah.
Raccoons love those.
Yeah.
Mayor, could I ask a quick question about in the discussion items? I didn't bring it up, asked for it to be on the agenda because I didn't want to kind of slap the hornet's nest. But is anyone else having any complaints from anyone regarding our deer population? Eating gardens and shrubbery and landscaping?
Not more than normal. No.
I had a citizen suggest we look into it and try and figure out some way to control it,
Good luck.
to talk to the Game and Fish Commission about it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You can do a planned hunt.
Good luck with that, too.
Well,
That's
Game
tough
Fish
to
Commission-
organize, but it can be done.
Game and Fish Commission has a program to reduce the herd size in certain areas.
Well, they claim that, Game and Fish Commission, that if the population gets, big, it's more of a danger for deer wasting disease, which I guess we've had further south of us in Arkansas. It's been a problem in some places.
I mean, deer overpopulation seems like it's a problem everywhere, even out in the country.
They adapt to the urban lifestyle.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. There's a lot of them.
Well, legally, it has to involve Game and Fish Commission, of course. And I'm trying to remember, Mr. Snow, when you brought it up, I was trying to think. I think some of these extra hunts that have been authorized in various locations at various times, I want to say maybe they also operate in coordination with some food banks.
They do.
And there's some volunteers that will do the cleaning and get it ready, and then they can provide that as part of the food bank programs in various places. So it doesn't go, it's not just killing them to go to waste. I mean, they have a plan for all that.
They actually harvest it.
They do, and I don't, I mean, Game and Fish Commission loves to come and talk about what they do. And so if it's something you're concerned about, I bet they'd be more than willing to have someone come and give you a presentation about it. But
Sounds like though there's not that much of a,
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anybody complain about
It's
it.
like my own personal garden and,
Yeah.
or,
there's always been a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So,
we scare them off.
There are different techniques you can use to protect your garden.
Yeah, we use all.
Do you get many more calls about dead deer on the street? Have you noticed lately?
I don't want to jinx it, but it's been relatively low.
Chief, the car wrecks with deer, do you know if we've had any increase on those?
Just during the rutting season.
It seems pretty normal. I haven't seen an increase. I mean, I haven't hit winter in a couple of years, so I'm pretty lucky.
Run into me 3 or 4 years ago.
Did you?
It was in Bentonville, though, it wasn't in
Yeah.
Galveston.
My wife's tagged them.
I had one more item on discussion. Doug Tapp mentioned to me that he had put together something on the Mercy Way grant. I think he may have passed it out to everybody.
Yes, sir.
You want to just go over that briefly?
Sure. Mayor and council, in 2022, when we budgeted for 23, we didn't know how much would be billed for Mercy Way and how much would be reimbursed. So this spreadsheet, the first 3 columns show you what we've been billed. The 4th and 5th columns show you what we've been reimbursed. And so if you'll look that over and reach out to me with any questions before next Monday, I'll have Wanda add this to the agenda as a budget adjustment. So if you look, though, if you total those up, they look pretty close to what we've been billed. What we expect to recoup are almost the same. So then you'll see some money there from Walton Family to cover that bottom overage on that utility relocation.
So the bottom line, right now we're paying would be $45,000, and you think it's going to end up being lower?
Well, that actually could be, the cost on that water line that Mr. Williams brought up a couple times is about $56,000. Our 20% of that is about 11. We received the entire amount from the Walton, so we could end up 45 more there. So we may end up having to give them some money back. We'll have to see
Yeah.
the chips fall, because we've got some more invoices coming and probably into January as well, so.
So let me just chime in here. But when I looked at that schedule, I'm not 100% sure what that number is supposed to represent because I didn't prepare the schedule. But what we're looking at is the budget adjustment for the current year. every year, you know, last year at this time, we went through and we said, this is the amount of revenue we got, and this is the amount of expenditures we had. So for purposes of this budget adjustment, it is looking at just what hits the 2023 budget.
Correct.
And Doug is going to go back and talk to, because going to go back and look at it and firm up those numbers. But I don't want to, you know, I just want to not spend too much time thinking about what we may or may not spend, because that it may or may not cost us, because that wasn't what the schedule is designed for. Do you follow me? And I don't want to put a different focus on the schedule than it was designed to focus on.
Because we're into that project at about 5.5 million, aren't we, total?
A lot.
So you're saying the point of this schedule was to figure out the budget adjustment for
Right, so those-
2023, as opposed to figure out the bottom line?
Correct, exactly what I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because Doug indicated he's going to pass that up tonight. So.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
That's the last item. Unless somebody has anything else, we'll meet next week at 6:30 in the courtroom. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, they're
Uh-huh.